this subculture is like an advanced team in discovering what is the purposes of a human life in a post robotics and AI world. What's the purpose of like we are having the privilege and opportunity to discover the challenges of freedom. And especially in a society where, job, income, identity, and work are all conflated, and that is going away, or has the potential to be going away, that there are millions, if not billions, of superfluous people if you think that the project of humanity is production. So we get to find out, those of us in this community, we get to regard these issues that are quite painful personally. Like, how do I fill a day? How do I get the respect of people that I admire? How do I have a voice? How do I have influence? How do I have any power? How do I have any, how can I make a difference? I mean, this is really tough stuff. So if we think of it as that we are a research team and we're researching these issues, then I would love to have people be in a discussion about something like universal basic income. What if we had FI for everybody? With this FI movement, what's a set of policies that would be natural and logical for us to advocate for? And the first thing that occurred to me was universal health care, because what I see is that people have trouble exiting the job world because we have put access to health care into access to a corporate job, which is the wrong place for it in a society where AI, robotics, etc., is going to actually take more and more of us outside the job world. And you take a look at it, it's happening now. That's why the gig economy, that's why, Airbnb and Uber and dog walking and blogs and all of this stuff, it's already happening. People are exiting corporate jobs, and yet the part of the exit is, I don't have access to health care. So the first thing I would really like us to all work on is to work on campaigning for universal health care. Health care is a right. You call it single payer, however you design how it's paid for, but basically making it a social good. And the right has managed to vilify government because they want the government off their back so that they can do whatever the heck they want to. So it is a government function. It's the community as our government to provide certain services for us. And one of them is not just fire, sewer, water, blah, blah, blah. It's healthcare. It's access to being able to have healthcare. So that's one thing. That's my first policy thing, is universal healthcare. And then the second one for FIers that I see is that people graduate with so much debt that it's almost hopeless. So many people are going to die with debt in their debt. And they've made it so that the one debt you can't get rid of, even with bankruptcy, is your college debt. So what kind of society requires people, in order to move up, to take on a debt that's going to enslave them for the rest of their lives? It's so, to me, it's nefarious. It's sort of a hidden in plain sight nefarious project. We really should, if we believe that an advanced degree, which is like beyond high school, college, if we think a college degree is sort of a ticket to participation at a really productive level and being able to make it, we should make that free. Because we need to resource our young people. Our young people are our future, and they're our treasure. They're our treasure. They're not our profit center. And so we should resource our young people. What kind of society has old people concentrate wealth and enslave the youth? This is sort of end stage society. So that's what I'd love to have, this FI community take on, is to free college education for everybody. Not necessarily Harvard, but I mean, we used to have a system where state schools, there was, CCNY used to be free. In-state schools used to be really low cost. So that we should work for that. We should work to liberate our young people so that they can be FI sooner, right? And then the third thing that occurred to me was this idea of universal basic income. That basically, I call FI, DIY UBI, do-it-yourself universal basic income. We're the people who figured out that, that can happen. You can moderate your expenses, you can identify what your real needs are, and you can free up your time. You can have at least a platform of security that sits underneath you, that you are not the nervous millions who know that, like I've got $400 of savings, if that. That one illness, one car accident, one something, and the whole rug comes out from underneath my financial life. What kind of society has its people, such a large percentage of its people, that insecure in the basic ways that the society says, this is how you live, this is how you get food on the table, this is how you get a house. So universal basic income basically says, there's lots of different plans for it, but it basically says you give people enough so that they have a floor. And some basically would propose a median income. Some people propose a minimum income. There's lots of proposals for how to do it. But the basic concept is that you want to provide basic security, financial security for everybody in the society. So universal basic income isn't like means-tested welfare. It is just basically says everybody gets a check. We have the money. It's sort of like your parents. Your parents, take a cruise every year and you want a little doll and you say, I want a doll. And the parents say, we don't have the money. Well, yes, you do. I see it, So basically it's just a matter of priority. Just a matter of priority. Who are we as a people? What do people deserve by having been born into this society and wanting to give their gifts to the collective project of this, this amazing democracy, sort of we hope it's democracy still. So anyway, universal basic income is another one. And the interesting thing I found about it is that right-wing people like this idea because it sort of burns out the underbrush of the welfare state. They can just one check and we'll just give them a check and then we don't have to have that whole bureaucracy. And people in the Black Lives Matter movement have used this as a way to talk about reparations. So all points in the political spectrum can find something to love about this universal basic income. So I think it's a super important conversation.